Welcome to the Altered Call podcast. We are back from our intermission and ready to take our first steps outside of the home. My name is Alex Blaszewski. I believe that our idols define us. I believe in little ponds, and I believe that you are uniquely created to reflect God's glory in the world. You don't have to admit it, but some of you miss this. Recapping the framework. As Christians, we are meant to bring glory to God generally through our purpose and specifically through our various callings. The enemy wants to prevent this by forcing us to stumble in any of an infinite number of ways. Stewardship is the application of our current knowledge and ability to defend our lives against that enemy. The discipleship path is an optional framework that you can use to build and maintain standards that relate to self, family, vocation, and church. This is meant to create a baseline of stewardship from which we can explore specific callings of God. We will start by establishing minimum standards strong enough to ensure that we are being faithful and on which we can build our desired lives. We will maintain these standards until we are given a specific calling of God, which we will prioritize accordingly. Having completed setting standards for our family, we now move to vocation. While this is often equated with career, ultimately it's a bigger concept than that. What we are trying to accomplish at this level is a balance between money, passion, and witness. Sometimes men can find all three in the same place, but often a combination of activities may be necessary. Maybe you are passionate about something but can't make enough of a living to support your family, so a part-time job is added to the mix. Maybe you make plenty of money at your job but find no passion in it, requiring other outlets for those pursuits. Maybe money and passion are addressed, but you are isolated in the process such that no one notices. We are called to leave the safety and security of our home in order to have an impact on the world. And I think that this form of co-creation is something that men are naturally drawn to. It is nice to be rewarded for our efforts, to strive against competing forces, and to return home victorious. But sometimes we are tempted to sacrifice too much. Sometimes victory eludes our grasp, and sometimes it's just easier to give up. Today's episode is going to sound a little different. Instead of discussing multiple challenges facing the category of vocation, I want to talk about what I believe to be the dominant God of our society. There is an idea that we are so culturally soaked in that I think it needs to be called out and denounced before we can address anything else. If you cannot beat this one thing, you will never be successful in your vocation. You might think that it's money, and the two are certainly related, but it's much bigger than that. It's an idea that permeates everything, a belief so culturally strong that it acts as a nearly universal lens for how we see the world. A word that we hear hundreds of times a day and yet never pay attention to, a driving force that leads to our destruction. It's one simple word: more. More money, more things, more success, more clicks, more likes. Everything must be up and to the right. Why? Because more. I hate this word so much that I try very hard to only ever use it in a sarcastic tone, because once you notice how it behaves and specifically what it is used to cover up, you will begin to realize just how much of the world is devoid of meaning in its wake. In the pursuit of more, we have lost our humanity, and we have forsaken our God. Here I am going to use the word more, but know that it encompasses the ideas of new, better, and different. New, better, and different are simply variations on more when seen through the lens of consumption. They all feed the same underlying belief. They all try desperately to fill the same gap. But if consumption is the problem, then why not call it that? We all know that consumption is bad. The reason for this is both that consumption intellectually often gets linked specifically to things, which more is not limited by, and because calling it consumption undermines how strong and silly of a problem more presents. It is true that we all consume too much, but I believe that we can do that without falling specifically into the worship of more. More tells us that something is missing, but refuses to tell us what that thing is. It always promises that that thing is just around the corner, just a little bit further. Always asks us to just give a little bit more in devotion. There is a deep longing or a hollow pit that cries to be filled. Sometimes we fill it with stuff, sometimes with people or experiences, but ultimately we feed the God of more with our hope. If I just made a little bit more money, then if I just had a slightly better house, then if I divorced my wife and started dating someone new, then if I just made it through this season of work, then what? Then you will need a new false hope to fill the void. The God of more has nothing to offer besides the illusion of better. More will simply keep stringing you along down an endless road of sacrifice and false hope in pursuit of absolutely nothing. Yet the pull is so strong that we all succumb to it at one point or another. We routinely buy into the illusions and pay extravagant cost in pursuit of new, grander illusions paired with new, higher cost until eventually it all falls apart, either because we have nothing left to sacrifice, or worse yet, we reach the end of the road only to realize that all of the costs have truly come to nothing. There are an infinite number of false gods, or if you're concerned with that language, false beliefs that we can aspire towards. It is my belief that these lesser gods or lesser beliefs are meant to draw our attention upwards, towards the God whose throne sits atop them all. Is a healthy relationship with money bad? No, just don't fixate on it. What about passion or success? Again, be passionate, be successful, but don't trade those things for God. Keep your vision drifting higher and higher until you find Him. When a lesser God calls out, they often want you to get stuck there. The God of money or alcohol doesn't really want you looking around for something better. And this is the edge that belongs exclusively to the God of more. More feels noble. It feels like you are making progress, like you are building towards something better. As a matter of fact, better is definitionally better, isn't it? The answer to this is not always. The trick here goes something like this. Better is better, so it must be good. Notice how not a single thing in that sentence is grounded in reality. Better than what? We have all been taught from a young age to rank and order things using words like better, best, worse, and worst. But these designations only apply if you know what you are measuring against. More refuses to offer such a standard. It simply offers an endless call to itself. Think about people winning the lottery. Overnight, they were gifted an abundance of more, and yet many of those people self-destruct under its weight, ending up in a much worse place than if they had never won the lottery. Does this make winning the lottery bad? No, but it does reveal that more isn't necessarily always better. Let's say that you are opening a bakery. Would you rather have 100 or 100,000 people show up for your grand opening? You might make more money in the second case, but you certainly couldn't feed everyone, and many people would leave disappointed. Instead, you would ideally have the maximum number of people that you could comfortably serve. Beyond that point, more is simply an illusion, or possibly an active hindrance to running a successful business. And this points towards the underlying problem that more tries to cover up: purpose. Culturally, we no longer know why we exist. Once upon a time, ideals like the American dream pervaded the culture, and religious expectations and responsibilities guided our actions. But as these systems have been undermined or torn apart, we are left directionless. We do not know why we exist, or what we are meant to do with our time. With no individual or collective standard to compare to, people have settled for comparing themselves to their neighbors. The problem with this method is that two unique people are very hard to compare in any legitimate way. So the God of More has offered us a way for us to compare ourselves against ourselves. No matter where you are or what you are doing, tomorrow you could be doing more. You could be doing better. You could be doing something new or different. Why should you do those things? It doesn't matter, because more is better and better is good. This trick assumes many untrue things. 1. That you are in any way doing something fruitful. 2. That you have infinite time. And 3. That your actions matter at all. The first problem is simple. If you are doing the wrong thing and you simply settle for doing more of it, you are in no better shape for having done it. This gets into calling and listening to God's voice, which I've covered in great detail in that series. But you were designed for a reason, and only God can tell you what that reason is. Maybe it's one thing, maybe it's multiple things over time, but speak to Him, follow His guidance, and make sure that you do it. Anything outside of that calling is either optional, meaningless, or both. The second assumption is that you have infinite time. I don't know why people are so comfortable assuming infinity. I would argue that it's a subtle nod to our Heavenly Father. But even so, assuming that you have an infinite amount of anything in this life is foolishness. Any action that you take in the pursuit of more will come at the expense of something else. Yes, you could make more money or be more successful in your business if you devoted more time and energy to it. But that will come at the expense of self and family to some degree. By creating an illusionary timeline, by pretending that you can have it all, more is able to transform itself into better. The longer that the God of more allows you to pretend that there is no sacrifice upon the altar, the longer that He can keep you happily enslaved. Finally, the God of more assumes that you are capable of solving your own problems. As Christians, hopefully you noticed all along that the God of more operates exclusively within your own actions. There is no allowance for God. We are not capable of saving ourselves. We are not capable of being good enough on our own. Can we be better? Sure. But why would it matter without God? I spend a lot of time in this podcast addressing minimum standards and calling men to take seriously what they have been tasked with. Not because I think that this will save you, not because more is better and better is good, but because faithful stewardship betrays true belief. I believe that you are responsible for doing what you are capable of and called to do, but that doesn't include your salvation. That doesn't include giving yourself purpose or meaning. Those things belong to God. For those things, He is your only hope, and hope garnered anywhere else is a lie from the pit of hell. Jesus said that His yoke is easy and His burden is light. What if that idea extends to our beliefs? False beliefs and false gods all demand to be fed, to be reassured, to be supported by our actions. What if in God we really have enough? What if we can find our purpose and live in the light of that clarity? What if that clarity emboldens us to sacrifice only what is necessary instead of a steady stream of more in pursuit of more? More isn't bad, but it must be in submission to God. If we need more than we have, He will make sure that it is given to us. In the parable of the talents, the good stewards are given different amounts and told that their faithfulness will be rewarded with more. But more cannot be your God. Instead, God has called us to be good stewards of what we have been given, and to trust that in Him, whatever we have is enough. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Altered Call podcast. Before you go, I want to make you aware of our new YouTube page. There I will post a weekly update where I discuss the most recent episode of the podcast in more detail and tease information that is coming in future episodes. Feel free to like and subscribe here, there, and everywhere if you find value exploring these ideas. You can reach me by email using alex@alteredcall.com, or you can visit the website for additional information.